Hi there. Bishop Craig Bergland out and about again and having to move because the sheriff's vehicle is coming towards me. I'm down at the shores of Lake Michigan this morning. There goes the sheriff. I hate it when they try and run you over. I'm near the area known as South Shore Pavilion, and if you look behind me there, you'll see Lake Michigan. And you'll see that pile of rocks that goes along the water. That's the break wall. It serves a purpose of reducing the waves as they come in, knocking them down a bit to prevent shore erosion. And there's, over my shoulder here as well, an anchor from some ship or other that used to be out on Lake Michigan. Many people, when they make their first trip to the Great Lakes and realize that you can't actually see the other side from this shore, are amazed at how big it is. Our concept of lake is very often that kind of lake that we visit as a child sometimes to go fishing or swimming in. It's something we can see the other shore of. It's something we can swim in. The beach is always friendly. Now, of course, in Wisconsin, the water is always cold. And while people do swim in it, I think they're fools. But, you know, that's just me. And I came down here today to show you the shore because perspective is what makes one of the Great Lakes so surprising to so many people. And perspective is such an essential part of our spiritual journey. You know, when we meet people from other traditions, even other traditions within our own broader tradition, people, for Christians, people from other Christian denominations, we sometimes don't understand where they're coming from because their perspective is different. And that's only magnified when we come across people from traditions outside of Christianity. If you look at all the rabid hatred and reaction to people who appeared to be of Middle Eastern descent after the 9/11 attacks, we see that the problem was we didn't understand their perspective. And we also were arrogant enough, it's a little snowy down here, we also were arrogant enough to believe that our perspective was the only valid one. So let me ask you a question. If you're a person who believes in a higher power, a person who believes in divinity, a person who believes in God, a person who might even express God as universe or transcendence, a person who tends to believe that the God of the universe is infinitely vast, how then could only one perspective be correct? How then could any one perspective manage to encapsulate the entirety of God? Wouldn't that mean that that perspective was actually larger than God? And demote God from this infinitely vast, largely mysterious presence that binds us together, that connects us one to another, that's the source of love and life. Demote that God from that position to a kind of God that serves our fancy and our whims. Well, that can certainly be convenient. It's always nice to have God at your disposal to do your bidding. But I want to suggest today that we need to refresh and renew that perspective and change from a perspective that may give us a great deal of comfort, that perspective being that we know everything there is to know about God and the universe and how it works, to a perspective that actually helps us live a better life. You know, comfort is a great thing, but if it leads us to have a view of the world that's so stilted, that's so narrow, that has to have us as individuals at the top of it, well, it's a fantasy, isn't it? It's like looking out at Lake Michigan and saying, well, because I can't see the other side, it must surely be the ocean. The truth is that we don't know everything. And the truth is that we probably never will. But when it comes to human relationships, we can learn a lot more from one another when we're willing to learn about each other's perspectives. If I have an image of a lake that was maybe in my neighborhood as I was growing up, maybe a 40-acre lake, and I start talking about lake with somebody who's used to a lake like one of the Great Lakes, we're not going to communicate. But if we take the time to share our perspectives, to come to an understanding of where each of us is coming from, we might actually be able to achieve peace in our day. Imagine. But you have to be willing to release your perspective in order to make that happen. Until next time, I'm Bishop Craig Bergland. I wish you God's rich blessings. Namaste.